approach, in a sense. One is to monitor and appraise the performance of the commissioner and deputy commissioners. But at the same time, the PSC is charged with the responsibility to hear appeals against decisions of the Commissioner of Police. Right? Then you have the National Security Council, to our mind, because we are not facilitated with that kind of information, that seems, together with the Ministry of National Security, that provide, both agencies, if I can use that term, provide policy directives for the police service by instructing or telling the Commissioner of Police what the policies are, and then the Commissioner of Police is required to carry out those policies. The problem that we face is, how do we monitor something that we are not informed about or that we don't know about, which makes our job very difficult in that sense. And added to that, the previous discussions and so on by Professor McCloskey and others, we feel did not take into consideration the full range of monitoring functions. So there are several issues. Whilst we're looking for a way forward, and we may need to address the regulations, that is only one part of it. There are several issues that needs to be focused on and addressed. Either we decide at the end of the day to leave it as it is, or we seek to move forward by trying to streamline the way the police service is governed, and either strengthen the relationship between the PSC and the Commissioner and the Executive of the Police Service in terms of reportability and accountability, or come up with another mechanism. Because at this juncture, the current mechanism that is in place seems to be problematic. So I just threw that out as a thought for consideration to get your views on it.
Dr. Rai, if I may, with your permission, go
Sure.
first. I've listened to you, and help me if I'm getting it right, and in terms of what I think might be critical. The main function of the Commission, as envisaged in the 206 Amendment, is monitoring, evaluation, and the question of hearing appeals coming out of the decision taken by the Commissioner of Police. And the main thing is the monitoring the performance of the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, and by extension the Police Service. You mentioned a sort of it wouldn't be a dichotomy, it goes beyond the dichotomy. You have the Police Complaints Authority, you have the Minister of National Security, you have the National Security Council. Coming out of all of this, every organization is supposed to do the strategic planning, right?
Right.
Which will set in place what the organization is supposed to achieve over a period of time. So the police service must, by extension, have one. And in the strategic plan, they have to be able to set the objectives. The minister, who sits as head of the Ministry of National Security, sets the policy direction. And from the policy direction, you would get all the objectives that the commissioner is supposed to achieve. Reduction in crime, whatever he's supposed to do. And maybe how he deals with complaints, how we do it all matter in terms of the whole management gambit, in terms of management of people, management of resources, including fleet and other things, traffic management, whatever he's supposed to do. So that any performance management framework, and if the commission is supposed to monitor and evaluate, it has to be done against a performance management framework based on what is the strategic plan and the strategic objectives of the ministry as designed by all of these agencies, including the National Security Agency, that will get policy direction to the minister as well. So that the performance management framework, by extension, you meet with all the stakeholders, what you have mentioned, and you put in place what are the targets and deliverables. And then you set the standard which will allow the commission to do its work. Because the commission, as it stands at the moment, can get involved and say police complaints and whatever, but you can also look at the extent how police is dealing with complaints against their own, apart from what maybe the Police Complaints Authority might be doing. So in terms of designing of the performance management framework, I think engagement of all the stakeholders in the design of the mechanism, to me, is critical. I don't know if you follow what I'm trying to say,
Yes,
because
yes, yes.
if you don't have their input, then clearly you might not be assessing the commissioner based on what you have just identified as some of the challenges. So first of all, I would, and I think the commission has already done that, you call for the commission's strategic plan, right?
Yes.
And once you have the plan, you have the objectives, and you know, with any planning exercise, you'll have the ad hoc things that will come in that not in the plan, because I mean, they say we live in a world of change and you can't stop change that's happening. So even as you finish your planning exercise, something happens and you have to tweak the plan, including the state of emergency, which would not have been catered for in the plan and all of this. So I think the instrument that is being designed to capture the performance of the commissioner and deputy commissioner, and by extension, is the most critical tool for the performance and to enable the commission to do its work. And the performance tool as designed must have input from all the stakeholders, and you must, by extension, sit with the commissioner and the deputy commissioner, and in terms of setting the standards and the KPIs that are so critical for the performance of the commissioner and deputy commissioner. So in terms of the first step, and I think we have gone beyond the design of the instrument, but the instrument must enable the commission, as I'm saying, to be able to address all of the areas that you have identified. And it might be important, as much as we have all the stakeholders here, if we have not done so as yet, before we even do the first assessment period, which is now due, maybe we should ask the stakeholders whether the instrument fully capture what we should be measuring, what we should be testing, and see whether there might be any shortcomings in the instrument as designed. This is the way I see it, based on what you have just mentioned, might be the various persons and the various things that the commission has to assess in terms of monitoring and the appeals coming out of decisions taken by the commissioner. That's how I see it. And as such, the matter of discipline and the matter of promotion are critical areas in the management of your human resources, and to what extent the commissioner is actually doing a good job there. It can be assessed, how he treats with complaint, how he treats with the whole management of the police service in terms of what police management speak to might be critical. So that although each agency has an input in the performance of the commissioner, you must know what these inputs are in order to set the performance targets and the KIPs against which the performance of the commissioner should be measured. I just want to throw that out.
Thank you very much, DB.
Dr. Ari, if I may just
Yes,
add
sir.
one piece to that, and I think just beyond the KPIs being signed off or agreed with the commissioner and deputy commissioner, which is another aspect. Is it that we are developing these KPIs and passing them on to the commissioner and deputy, or are we discussing them and agreeing that these are the standards that we have agreed to set, whether to reduce crime by 15%, or whatever, whether to introduce technology within 3 months, as the case may be. Is there any agreement between the commissioner, deputy commissioner, and the commission on those KPIs?
Yes. Chairman? Or
Okay, so we agree with the DPA that, it should be a collective input in terms of what we will be measuring. However, we have to admit that time would have been against us, because these reports are more or less due as we speak. So what we would have done with the support of the Secretariat, we would have developed the KPIs, and we would have developed the instrument that we're using for this first reporting period. And yes, you're right, it's necessary that we share it with the Commissioner and his deputies, and we did that. About 2 months ago, I think it was, that we met with them. We went through the instruments so that there was clear understanding. However, going forward, we will be making it a more robust method of measuring performance. And so we will, for that time, at that second reporting period, engage the stakeholders so that we come up with a collective tool.